Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hi there, I'm Dylan James Weaver, but you can call me Dylan. I run a podcast called the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. It's a place of humor, analysis, and excitement, but don't take my word for it. You can find out for yourself on today's Wad Fam Chalk Pod. They used scenes of this episode in episode 266. It began with a rabbit's foot.
Oh.
That is an episode that we very well may cover because it intersects with some Katrina and Eugene stuff. Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are here this week to talk about episode 266. It began with a rabbit's foot.
Dun dun dun! The occult.
Yep. we're going back. We've treaded these waters before, both metaphorically and literally.
Yep. Oh, yeah, no, it's a real delight to revisit the origins of the Bible room, which are in no way concerning at all.
Yeah, but this episode we can glaze past it. If
True.
you care about our coverage, go back and listen to when we talked about Gotcha during the Connie's conversion arc.
There you go.
Because the story with this episode, so Gotcha's episode 24, it aired during that first year of the show back in April 30th of 1988. And a mere 6 years later, on April 30th of 1994, you see what they did there? I kind of can't believe it, but it is literally the same date 6 years later that this airs.
Wow.
And I don't think that was intentional.
No,
But it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, wow. I'm literally in awe because I don't know whether to believe that somebody was neurotic enough to make sure that happened, which would make sense, or that we got like a white that literally just is a unicorn and worked out magically.
Yeah, we'll never know. But also the fact that it's 6 years apart, so it could literally air on the same day because they're only airing new episodes one day a week.
Yeah.
And you only have those days hit the same every 5 or 6 years.
Because leap year.
Yeah. It's wild. Anyways, so...
Could it be God?
I mean, look, there are some things we'll talk about this episode. This isn't the only wild thing, behind the scenes with this episode.
All right.
But the deal is... Gotcha, which we covered back then, was pulled from the air after it played for the first time because it's a David Harley episode. And we can't show him.
No.
And it was one where they didn't... So the way a lot of Harley episodes go is they either cut his part and edited it out. They brought in a new character to replace certain things with. They re-recorded it later with entirely different people. They basically just reused the script.
Yeah.
Or they pulled it from circulation. And Gotcha is one that they couldn't rework, so it just got yanked from circulation.
Oh, okay.
But it's a pretty key episode of the show.
Yeah.
And so it was because it introduces the creation of the Bible room and it plays this part in Connie's whole arc that we covered in our Connie Year 1 coverage. So it was just kind of floating out there and was clearly one they wanted to bring back. And so they made this crazy decision that kind of works in this episode of, okay, what if we just flash back and we focus on the Bible room stuff and we yada yada the rest of it so that we get some Connie and Wit stuff, we get the Bible room, but we get no Harley. Philo is mentioned but is not in the forefront. They really just, because they're cutting in and out of the story, they can really make it work. So it is well done from a structure perspective.
Well, I would say that and as somebody that has listened to Gotcha, like, it does kind of feel like somebody telling a story about what happens in Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which is perfect.
Yeah, it's well executed, especially when you have that context of very few people listening to this episode had heard Gotcha. Mm-hmm. It was only made available again when the club launched and they put the Harley episodes on there. Otherwise, it was out of circulation for decades.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, so this must be how I learned about... Because I do remember hearing this episode. Because this is obviously around the albums that I had, so I was most interested in them.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is, so the episode in Chris's like closing credits for the episode, this episode is credited as written by McCusker and Lawler and directed by Lawler. Mm-hmm. However, It Began with a Rabbit's Foot is written by McCusker, according to both official guides. Mm-hmm. But then Gotcha is a Phil Lawler episode. He wrote and directed Gotcha.
So he gets top cred for this one?
I don't know if they would go... I think it's McCusker, then Lawler in the credits. But regardless, they both get credited as writers on this one. But it seems like McCusker was the guy to actually rework this into an episode.
Yeah. And
Phil just gets that credit because he wrote the original one.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And he is directing this one, so it's not like... Yeah. It's not like he doesn't have say in it. But it also is... I imagine having Phil direct it is hey, you made the original.
Yeah.
McCusker might have had the idea and built the script out, but we're actually going to handle the direction of how this episode is going to play out.
Man, we just praised Phil Lawler on accident.
Hey, I mean, look,
Blackguard's good.
Right, the man doesn't always suck. He always sucks as a man. He doesn't always do a bad job.
That's fair. I can respect that.
So with that colossal bombardment of context right off the top, I think it might be time to get into the actual episode, and to do that, I'm going to roll the promo.
Yes, please.
On the next adventure in Odyssey, Lucy's research for a newspaper article results in a flashback to the earliest days of Wit's End. Meet Connie before she became a Christian and learn how her interest in good luck charms convinces Whit to create a special place for kids, the Bible Room. And what happens when Eugene's friend Katrina wants to learn more about the Bible for herself? Find out next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
Wow. Is it bad that I kind of want that guy to just narrate all the garbage stuff I do in my life?
It would be fun.
I think it would be hilarious if I had that guy narrating me making ramen at like 11:50.
Andrew Acebo is making ramen in his kitchen. Little does he know that he is going to get too much steam in the seasoning packet and it's going to come out all clumpy and frustrating. If only he had known that he could have cracked an egg in it and made it so much better.
Hey, man. Love me a good ramen with egg. Mm-hmm. Or ramen with oregano and egg.
Oh. Or reg-ano.
No, not oregano.
Or egg? No.
Oh my goodness. All right, so now that everybody's left, let's talk about the episode. We got through all that context without tying it to the fact that this is mostly about Katrina and Eugene.
Yeah.
And like in kind of a significant way.
Yeah, for sure. Katrina walks into Wit's End dazed and confused.
For so long, it's not true.
I mean, but truly, like, she's just got, like, she
Glassed.
is out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's like, Eugene's at the college right now, so Connie's like, wait, why are you here? Usually if Eugene's not here, he's with you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I was here because I'm not with Eugene, so I assumed he'd be here.
Yeah, because when he's not here with me,
he's here. Yes, just really highlighting how intertwined their lives have become as the only two people who are friends.
Yeah, no, it's it's cute. I don't know. Especially when Eugene then comes in later and basically like reiterates the same bit. Like it's sweet.
Yeah, their relationship is sweet. I am, because of my own baggage, a little stressed at Eugene's lack of communication of his own feelings.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Rightfully so.
We're at this point where it's assumed that if they are not at their jobs, they are together. And Eugene's still like, she probably sees us as very good friends. Which,
I mean, maybe. I'm a big fan of platonic friendship.
You don't have to sell me on platonic friendships, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only thing that keeps me going at this point. But
and our secret romantic side dish.
but
that's the bonus show.
Yeah, we're bringing back the bonus show, having just killed it off, to talk about whatever this is.
Oh, it's just a camera angle, like from the ceiling of us cuddling.
Great, love it. But
fully clothed, of course.
You know, I wasn't concerned that it wouldn't be until you stated that. Then I had to worry. But yeah, it's just like, I'm like, I understand that there are like every relationship's gonna have these periods of transition.
But this feels very long.
Well, no, it doesn't. It just feels like we have gotten very intense very quick without ever communicating what is going on.
Yeah, no,
which
that's
is
fair.
So relatable.
Yeah, no, that is
and
fair.
from personal experience, bad.
Yeah, no, that I'll take your word for it, because I'm definitely the one to speak too much and not too little. My goodness.
You ever just bury feelings for a year at a time, friends? Chalk Squad? I'm calling you friends now because of what I just said.
We're bearing our souls
Look,
to you. We're recording this at night. Like
it's true. Also, if it's not clear, Eugene and Katrina stuff, I'm going to keep inserting myself into the narrative. I've done it 3 episodes and running now.
I mean, wonderful. And, you've always identified with Eugene and notoriously have not heard much of this. So I think this could be a valuable lesson that you might get some insight.
Great. We're going to solve all my problems. The second half of this
is audio therapy.
That's what I was going to say, is rather than doing a like the split episode summer showdown, we're just going to do a bonus episode at the end where Andrew is my therapist.
It's just me saying, wow, that's really depressing.
Andrew. The perfect segue. Thank you so much. Katrina explains that she is here because she has lost her job and at the college and is stressed about that, and she is looking for Eugene because, quote, he seems as if he'd be of great comfort during a trying time.
Which is adorable.
Oh, it's so sweet.
So sweet.
It's so sweet.
Of great comfort during a trying time.
I'm so glad that I know that it works out for them.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I know that it works out for them. Why doesn't it work out for me?
It will. You just need to hang around more libraries.
I've heard worse strategies.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this whole picking up women at bars situation, not for me. I'm also not on the market, so worth clarifying.
Yeah, we're in a secret relationship.
Yes.
So yeah, then Connie makes a great joke about saying, well, Eugene's usually the reason for my trying times, so I can't relate to that, but it's sweet nonetheless.
Or she's like, well, I don't really know because Eugene's the cause of my trying times.
Yeah. And then she grabs Katrina and is like, look, we can go up to Whit's office and just talk. I can be your person to talk to, which Great.
Yeah.
Love that for Connie. Also, she just like yells to the back to Wit, and Wit's like, oh yeah, cool, go.
Love that.
Yeah.
Epic.
It's good.
Well, and so for me, immediate thoughts of the like Connie the Counselor episode, and I was like, wow,
Sure.
that's really cool that we kind of see those tendencies fostered in like really key episodes, like this one.
She doesn't do a good job.
No, she does terrible. That was the other thing.
But she does care.
She cares, but not well, I mean, she does care. She cares enough to listen, which is valuable.
But right. She cares enough to listen. She's not doing a great job at the listening portion, but also high schooler.
Yeah, high schooler doesn't get it and like doesn't have the language to be able to process that.
I mean, we've talked before about my about how I walk through hard times with people, which is either just by like sitting there in silence and nodding, or by trying to divert it with comedy. And like these days, I've also gotten better, pretty good about like asking questions and like I think, but like especially high school Dylan, it was like, I am uncomfortable. I am going to make joke to alleviate tension. That is my brand. That is why people come to me anyways.
Yeah.
And then I am going to go home and the weight of this is going to hit me, and I'm going to send a Facebook message to actually empathize.
Yeah. I love that for you though. I mean,
We've grown.
Yeah, that's huge. But like still having
Shout out to former guests on this show who have experienced this firsthand.
Yeah, but there is something to be said that when somebody's going through like a really trying time, less is often more.
Yes.
And like,
oh, for sure.
I would much rather
don't offer solutions.
Yeah, I would much rather her say, I don't know what to say, that's really depressing, than her be like, oh, everything happens for a reason. God's got a plan for this.
Yep. Agreed.
Don't be sad.
Yes. But yeah, the kind of kicker with Katrina losing her employment is that she doesn't have the money to stay in college.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah, and so Connie's just like, man, I am too depressed from this story to give good advice.
I mean, honestly.
And then she does come up with a solution, which is fun. And she's just like, well, just get a job here.
Yeah.
Like, you said you have no particular skills outside of tutoring, which also...
Big skill.
Great skill, and I kind of doubt it. Katrina is very smart.
Yeah, I feel like she sews or something like that. Like, she's got to be crafty.
Sure, but like, right, there's got to be other employment for her, but I also like that, right, Wit's End as a perfect stopgap is great.
Need a paycheck. Wit's the kind of guy that would hire somebody like her.
Yeah.
And obviously, she's been hanging around them more, so he does.
Meanwhile, downstairs, Lucy shows up.
God bless.
Dude, I was so excited that Lucy was here.
She's so... and I mean this in the least sexual way. She's so cute.
Yeah.
She's so cute.
Here's the thing. There is nothing in this episode other than context and her voice to indicate that she is a child.
True.
She is functioning fully as an adult.
Yeah. Like, as a...
And
even Katrina.
And we'll talk, yeah.
Like, Katrina, when they meet, recognizes her as a reporter.
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely bananas. But, so Lucy is coming to Wit, and she's like, I'm looking, like, I want to write, like, a story about Wit's End. And Wit's like, well, we've already done that. Like, and she's like, no, but like, I was thinking about something more specific. Can we do like a story about the Bible room, its centrality to Wit's End, and like how that came to be?
Yeah.
For a piece she is writing for the Odyssey Times.
Yep.
Not the Owl, the Times. The real newspaper with editor-in-chief Dale Jacobs. Like, it's kind of crazy.
No, it is. And like, also epic, and I love that.
Yeah,
like,
no, good for her. Like, go Lucy.
Doesn't Rory do something like that early on in Gilmore's Girls?
Sure,
I mean, she writes an article for the what's the Stars Hollow Gazette.
Probably, yeah. I mean that checks out.
Yeah,
but Yeah.
Fact check me, please.
Look, if you want to tweet at the Wad Fam Chalk Pod about, don't fact check us, but if you want to tweet at us about Gilmore Girls, no one's going to complain.
I will always respond if you tweet at me about Gilmore Girls.
I am not on Twitter anymore.
Good for you. I didn't know this.
My account still exists.
Yeah, me too.
But I got rid of both Twitter and Reddit from my phone for the new year.
Wow, good for you.
And I have not caved yet. We will see. The part where it's going to get complicated is when I need to be in people's DMs to book guests on this show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Twitter's web browser exists.
Yeah, it does. Well, I'll make it work. But for the time being, not on Twitter. I still get the notifications. I'm still checking notifications like weekly on the podcast Twitter account. But my main Twitter account is just a black hole at this point. So if you are trying to get a hold of me, that is not the way to do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, always just email it.
Yeah.
Email us, please.
The email and any of the Twitter, like the podcast Twitter account, also the podcast Instagram account. All of those are well monitored.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Back to the show.
Yeah. So it's like, well, I can tell you the origin of the Bible story. It began with a rabbit's foot. So we get the roll credits, and then Katrina comes down, or Katrina and Connie come down. Connie's like, hey, wait, can I speak to you? Off to the side, and pulls him away, and Katrina's standing there with Lucy, and Lucy, just hammering home how adult this person is, walks up and introduces herself to Katrina, which, can you imagine?
No, I would love it. I would love it.
Like,
That's something I would do when I was 12.
Oh, wow, we are such different people. I do not introduce myself to someone now. If I was standing next to you at the counter, we're just standing there.
Well, no, I'm not saying that
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like...
But if it's my home turf.
Right.
You know, like, if I'm at the Do-Si-Do and I see, like, somebody that everybody's treating like a regular that I don't know, I'm gonna introduce myself.
Yeah. I appreciate that about you. I am not a particularly anxious person, but for as extroverted as I am, I don't do well in social situations where I don't feel like I'm the one in control.
That's fair.
And so I don't introduce myself to people.
That's fair.
I love introducing other people, though.
Yeah. That is the best. If you can introduce yourself by introducing somebody else, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, not the point here. The point is that that Lucy introduces herself to Katrina, which is very adult, and then Katrina's like, oh, you write articles for the paper. I know you. Just once again, it's like if you recast Lucy even slightly, or if this was your first episode, like, I don't know. She might just play as an adult.
She'd be a high schooler, probably.
Right.
I would think she's like Connie's contemporary.
Right, which I think Connie doesn't feel like a high schooler.
No.
Anyways, so...
Thanks, McCusker.
So, yeah, Whit just comes back out and is like, hey, you've got the job.
Yeah.
And then Eugene walks in and is upset about this.
Yes, he is.
He is very excited to find Katrina. They chat. He had already gone to the library and found out about her termination.
Yes. And that's where we get the whole bit where he's like, I've been looking everywhere. I looked at the library because you weren't at... I looked at the library because you weren't at class or here, because that's where I was, and vice versa. You know.
Yep.
Call back to earlier joke.
Yes, exactly.
And it's very cute, and then, yeah. But Eugene is very flustered.
Yep. Yeah, it really catches him off guard, and he gets defensive pretty quickly, but not in, like, an aggressive way, which I really appreciate.
No.
And so he kind of goes all flustered, and then we do the Connie and Katrina go with him. Where do Connie and Katrina go during this? Because Whit and Lucy, regardless, Connie and Katrina aren't with them initially. Whit and Lucy go into the Bible room to hear the story.
Yes.
And then Connie and Katrina go somewhere, and Eugene goes off flustered. Maybe they're all together. It doesn't really matter.
No, I think Connie and Katrina are talking about Christianity.
Not yet.
Oh no, that's later.
No, that's later. That's what I'm saying. They're just off doing something.
Yeah.
But Eugene excuses himself, and then
because he wants to get a newspaper.
Yep. Which Lucy famously writes. And so they go back, and we get the flashback. And I am so glad that we covered this episode before, that we covered Gotcha before covering this, because it means we can really just glaze over the flashback stuff. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the current occurring things, but it is like a clever device to work this back in. Yeah. And it is a really well thought out solution by McCusker and the team at the show.
I agree.
And we have, we come out of the scene with Whit saying, like, you know, as you can imagine, I wasn't too thrilled about the fact that Connie gave Philo a rabbit's foot. And Lucy just, so good. It's just like, what? You? Upset about a rabbit's foot? Like,
so funny.
Sarcastic Lucy, best Lucy.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But then
the lines are getting grayer, Dylan. But she's not voiced by a child, is she?
I believe she is.
Oh God, no.
I don't know what age that child is at this point, but she was like an actual kid.
Cool.
Voicing Lucy. She's famously married to the guy who voiced Jack Davis. It's
that's right. Yes,
Jenny Long is married to the guy who voiced Jack Davis. And actually, that might be true at the point of this episode.
Oh, there you go.
It's 94. They got married in May of 94. So they got married literal months after this, like a month after this episode aired. So Connie and Katrina come in to let Whit know that the fuse blew in the little theater. And so he's got to go do that. And he hands it off to Connie to continue the story. And Connie's like, oh man, Whit, why are you telling this story? I love how embarrassed she is by this. It is so humorous to me. And so she kind of, you know, couches it in like, yeah, this was like, you know, in a time before I was a Christian, like, you know, it was not great. Let's go back and we'll talk this through. And so she jumps back into it. And this is the only scene where the flashback kind of starts to drag. Yeah. It's too long. Yeah. So like it started out and I was like, ooh, this is really like the flashback's really working for me. And then I literally wrote, I think this actually works better in flashback than it did in the episode. And then my next note is, I take it back. They definitely could have shortened this more. Yeah. Because this middle scene of it does just drag on too much. But so it sets up that whole dynamic where Whit's, you know, kind of chewing out Connie for,
the occult, which is reading a horoscope.
Yep.
Anger.
Oh, Andrew, we forgot to introduce ourselves by our star sign. That was a bit I had prepared.
Oh.
I was going to say hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver, and I'm a Cancer.
Oh. And I'm Andrew Sabo, and I'm a Sagittarius.
And that checks out, I assume.
I think so.
Hey, Andrew, what's your Myers-Briggs type?
I used to be an ENFJ, but now I'm an INFJ. So you're like, nah, sure. You're an introvert.
Sure. I believe I am ESTJ.
Okay. What's your and this is my dig, the Enneagram. What's your number?
Oh, I am a 5-wing 4, Andrew.
Okay. I'm a 4-wing 5, say, or a 4-wing 3. I think I'm a 4-wing 3, if that's possible.
That is possible.
There it is. That's me.
Look at you, Enneagramming it up.
Well, and that's my point.
Which gram is it? Could be any of them.
It could be. the old broke the word into 2 words joke.
We definitely haven't done it earlier on this episode.
I'm dying though, because it's so funny every time. Like, that is my sense of humor.
We should do a podcast together.
Maybe.
Seeing as we have this much overlap in humor.
God.
You ever listen
If
to Adventures
only.
in Odyssey?
Actually, I was thinking about doing one about John Mulaney's TV show from like forever ago.
Andrew, I have to cut that.
I know.
Follow at Mulaney Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. The handle that I have.
See, now you can't.
It's not important.
Now you can't cut it. Oh, because that's the best bit. If you get followers for a podcast that doesn't even exist. Oh, man. All right. So Eugene finally comes back. I
would say before that, I think it's interesting that when they come out of the flashback bit, like there's a conversation between Katrina and Connie about like
Christianity.
Yeah,
right?
where Katrina's just like, wait, like his conviction was so strong that he like created a room because of this, and she makes a comment about like she always had an academic understanding of Christianity, but never really understood how that could be like implemented in someone's like personal life.
Yeah, she said she never saw it in practice personally. I think.
Yeah,
that's what she says.
yeah.
Which
the in practice part.
Yeah, is very cool and interesting and like makes perfect sense for Katrina's character at this point in the show.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I fully knew that Katrina was like not a Christian at any point.
Oh,
like, I know
interesting.
I know that she becomes a Christian. Obviously, like she has her own conversion arc, kind of. But it's because it's so quick for her. Like, I feel like if, with the exception of the episodes early on that we're going to cover, this one included, you don't really get to see too much of Katrina pre-conversion.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but I also appreciate that she is introduced 2 episodes ago. Like two episodes, like she's in 2 episodes prior to this.
Yeah.
And the show doesn't need to establish her faith one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really cool.
Like, it just kind of lets it rest there. And this is truly...
It feels like Katrina, though, as far as, like, it doesn't feel like Paul McCusker writing Katrina to do something that he wants her to do.
Yeah.
Like, he's written Katrina so well that it feels like a Katrina thing to do, to be like, wow, I knew so much about, Jesus of Nazareth because I read all those books and took all those classes, but like now I'm actually seeing that like people really are like changed by this dramatically.
Yeah. It's her, like the blend that we've talked about over the last couple episodes of her being as smart as Eugene, but also like socially apt and portrayed with feelings in like someone who doesn't keep their feelings bottled up like Eugene does.
Or
but
mumble at the camera like Wit.
Right, but who's actually willing to express them.
Yeah.
And so part of that here is that, like, we haven't, not only has Katrina not been established what her faith background is up to this point, but none of the characters have needed to impose that on her until it's coming up organically. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really, really well handled, I feel like, in this scene. It doesn't feel like it's that heavy-handed. And I like that Connie comes to, like, this is Katrina's first real exposure to it because she hasn't really interacted with Connie and Wit in a context where it would make sense that this would come up.
Yeah.
And then Eugene's immediately brought up and she's like, oh, I wonder like why he doesn't bring this stuff up. And Connie doesn't aggressively throw Eugene under the bus.
No, she doesn't really mention it.
Well, she says, she has the line where it's like, I don't really know what he believes.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you?
Yeah.
But it's not. It feels like Connie is she's conducting herself in a way to protect Eugene and protect this relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
she's
she's
really mature,
clearly,
yeah.
right, she's on their team.
Mm-hmm.
She likes Katrina and Eugene and wants this to work for them.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I would say it's a very generous view for her.
Yes.
Like, and it's
generous is a great way.
A generous view of Eugene from her, where, you know, if she was mad, it would be in character for Connie to, you know, go off and say that, oh, he's just an atheist or something weird like that. Like they would ever say atheist on this show. I don't, have they?
I don't, maybe now.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe now, who knows? But, for her to be so gentle with it and just, not state what she doesn't know rather than try to pretend that she does know something.
Yeah, exactly. And so Whit comes back in and they jump back into the story. Mm-hmm. And this is where we get the Whit and Tom scene, where Whit's, you know,
the Bible became boring,
right, where they have that whole exchange, and then Eugene comes in and interrupts, and this time he comes in to be like, hey, Katrina, look at all these jobs I found you that aren't Wit's End. And there's this really cute line where he's like trying to pitch her to be like, you know,
a contract foreman or something.
No, it's before that. I think it's the first one he mentions where he's like, you could be a, like, this person needs like phone sales.
Yeah.
You could do that. I could listen to you on the phone for hours.
Yeah.
And she just quietly says, you have.
Yeah.
Which is so cute.
Yeah.
And also hilarious to be like, the 90s were just a wild time.
Mm-hmm. They were.
Because it's like, you guys live in the same town, go to the same college, hang out at the same places. It's so small. Why are you ever on the phone for hours?
Yeah. You really
Says
should.
me as I like text people who I could get to in 5 minutes constantly.
Yeah, that's
but it is just that's multitasking in a way that the phone doesn't quite feel like it could be, but obviously it can be. I mean, yeah, but it's just funny that to have that line in there because I do fully believe it, but it's just such a foreign concept.
I think that, well, and I would say that like our generation or the next generation more so would be like, I could listen to you on FaceTime for hours because like that's a thing. Kids FaceTime all the time. I did not realize how big of a thing it was until I worked with elementary schoolers.
That is
it's
weird.
Like constant.
I remember I was hanging out with, I think it was hanging out with you one time, and someone just started a FaceTime out of the blue.
I think it was Carter, probably.
He's
the one that does that to me the most.
And I'm like, and it just blew my mind where I was like, what is happening? I would never call someone out of the blue, and you're getting a video call with them out of the blue? Like, what a bizarre thing.
I'll call people out of the blue if I feel like it's a time where it would work for them. Like, I'm not going to call friend of the show Nathan Haverstick at 12 p.m., even if that's when I want to talk to Nathan, but because he's likely in class. But I'll call him out of the blue at
You'll call him at 12 a.m.
Yeah, at 12 a.m. Good Lord. I'm driving to him.
Look, call me anytime, Andrew.
Call me maybe.
You already have my number.
It's true.
So call me, baby. So then Eugene, Katrina's like, why are you doing all that? Or Connie, I think, says, like, why are you doing all this? She has a perfectly good job here.
Yeah.
And he gets kind of like flustered again and then just like is like, wait, can we go to your office? So much use of Whit's office this episode.
So much use of Whit's office.
And then Whit's like, okay, Connie, continue the story. And it is, I think the handing off of this story is incredibly artfully done. I really like the yo-yo. Whit's telling it, then Connie's telling it, then Whit's telling it, now Connie's telling it. Yeah. And like Whit told the parts that he was there for, and Connie told the parts that she and Whit were there for, so she could tell them. Like, it's just, it's really well handled in a way that could feel really goofy. It just, like, it serves the episode in a good way and is fun.
It flows seamlessly, and it makes sense. I don't know.
This episode just has, like, every person who is in the episode is paired up with all the other people at some point. Yeah. Like, we're just constantly bouncing between these two people are talking, now these two are, now these four, now these three.
And they're all great.
They're all of the dynamics work. All of these actors are so good. They've all been on the show for so long. Even Lucy has been on the show for like 4 years at this point. So like it works.
Yeah.
And yeah, we jump back in, and my big note is it's so weird how much, like, because of like time compression in Odyssey, there is just this crazy thing where it's like it doesn't feel like this was that long ago, and it helps that we just covered it within the past year, like probably. What if? I know it won't have lined up, but it would be hilarious if we released this one a full year after last one. Like, that would be kind of beautiful.
That would be the neurosis that I would suggest.
We could just hold this one for another 5 years so we could drop it on the 6th year.
I think, no, what we do is we pull a gotcha, we drop it, pull it, and then re-release it in 6 years.
But in flashback form.
Yeah. Flashback to 2023.
Wait, I need a cold open for this episode. The little teaser audio. Yeah. What if I pull it from Gotcha?
Oh,
like from our coverage of Gotcha.
That would be, that's a good idea.
That would be pretty fun.
And probably easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, easy enough. All right. Well, you probably already heard that if I did it. And if I didn't, I'm cutting this. Or not.
Who knows?
I always edit this before I make the teaser, so.
That's fair.
Anyways, the deal is that it's like it feels like the Bible room should have been created like 20 years ago.
No,
but it's like Connie is there. She still sounds basically the same. She is playing a younger high schooler. 6 years have passed and she has not graduated. Like, she has become a Christian, so that part's different. But like, even the fact that Lucy's like, oh, I remember Philo.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand why you would. That makes sense. It's also weird.
No, yeah. Well, and like you said, the fact that I don't think either of us had listened to Gotcha before we recently covered it, and so now to have it fresh in our memory, and for me, having listened to this episode before, there's just a whole lot of overlap there. But it's interesting and cool, and I think it lets me appreciate this episode more completely.
Yeah. And so we come out and. Yeah, Katrina talks about just being like impressed by Whit's dedication, and wants to know more about Christianity. And yeah, she has some line of like, did he really create the Bible room just because of like, just to counteract horoscopes or whatever? Yeah. And Connie says, in like the most like, man, Paul McCusker must have just been like laughing so hard writing it. Connie just replies, you heard it with your own ears.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's the joke that every audio drama wants to make, and he did it, and I respect him for it. And yeah, it is, I don't know, it's cool. Like and that's the end of the flashbacks. We can kind of tie a bow on that portion of the show. I think it's interesting that Katrina just sees the positives and
None of the-
not the like wild horoscope stuff, but also it does make sense to an extent that like woman of science Katrina Meltzner, dang it, woman of science Katrina Shanks is not thrilled. Like, is not someone who's like, man, I'm really into horoscopes, so this is like going up against like my thing.
Yeah.
Like very much, cause and effect rationalist here.
Yeah, she would definitely go. I feel like she'd be more likely to call Wit on calling astrology a cult. And I was like,
Sure.
no, it's just its own religion, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's older than Christianity. So we didn't talk about Eugene talking to Wit yet.
So that's literally the next scene.
Okay.
So Eugene's like, can I be completely frank with you, Wit? And Wit says, unless you're going to criticize my mustache.
Oh, I love that. That's a great joke. I love that Wit is a little insecure about his mustache.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, I'm insecure about my mustache too, and I've got a beard somewhat attached to it. So,
Yeah. How do you think Jason would look with a mustache? You think he's ever tried that out?
he's got it.
He had like a soul patch when he started in the show.
Oh yeah, he
Because of
definitely
the
had
era. So, well, actually, I think when he started, he was clean shaven, and then he went soul patch. And now I don't know what his current status is.
I mean, he's been undercover so many times.
It's true. There has to be a mustache version of
mustache
of
bearded,
Jason. That's
shaved
true.
head,
Yep.
all of it.
Eugene then kind of just fesses up to like not and this is also a moment that I think is so well written, so genuine, could have been terrible and isn't.
Yeah.
Which is Eugene being like, I don't like this is just this is my worlds colliding.
Yeah.
Katrina working here is weird. My time with Katrina is supposed to be a break from work. And now they're overlapping.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm just like, this is such it's a great realization for him to have. It's very healthy. It's very like understandable.
Yeah.
And Wit's like, oh, I didn't like think of you at all when I did this, because I genuinely hadn't realized how far your relationship had progressed.
Yeah. Okay. Because he stutters. Wit
Right.
stops and he's like, doesn't know what to say. And he has advanced.
Right.
Which is funny and it's cute and like it's a great interpersonal moment between the two of them. But it's like it is great that like Eugene is being vulnerable and honest, and Wit is admitting to potential fault, or not even
fault, but just like Wit cares.
Yeah.
He's not going like, oh, well, Eugene, that's silly. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's being like, oh, I genuinely hadn't considered that. I didn't realize.
Didn't he just go on a spiel about coworkers not dating?
He did, in fact, in the previous episode. It's a great point. And I think he, it's like, it makes like, this is a scene, especially this first half, where both of these characters feel like they are acting in completely, like, character-driven, logical, but emotionally resonant ways. Like, it's just good writing at its best as far as like characterization goes. They are both operating within the bounds we've seen them, or like in the way we have seen them, or the way we would expect, but a situation where they haven't been before, and just navigating it so well. And I dig it. Like I like this a lot. And then he's like, I think I'm in, like, because Wit's saying like I didn't know how far things advanced, and Eugene's like, I think I'm in love with Katrina in as much as I know what love has.
Anything about those things. Yeah.
And then we cut to commercials.
Yep.
Which is a thing Odyssey never does. The cut to
Cliffhanger.
commercial, come back in on the same scene that like every like that makes watching old shows on Netflix really rough.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
where you come back in and it's a different shot, it's a different take of the same thing and they repeat it, but there was no commercial break in between.
Yeah.
Like they're normally like, even if they edit to commercial break, it's always like, and we come back in and we're in a different scene and it's not like
Not
a
big deal.
concern, but it's just, it's interesting here. And he then is really, well, and we get Wit saying, "You're in love with Katrina?" And then he does like, "In about as much as I, think I know what love is." And and Wit makes they continue talking, and Wit makes a comment of like, "Is there something more here?" And Eugene starts and stops multiple times trying to get the words out and a coherent thought. And it's Will Ryan killing it.
Yeah.
It's Paul McCusker doing a great job with the writing, and Phil Lawler, if he is directing the scene, which we can assume he is, nailing it.
Yeah. And Hal Smith's voice acting
Yep.
is really good.
And right. Hal Smith on the flip side doing great. And the thing Eugene says is he's afraid, given the fragility of their relationship, of the influence that everyone's going to have on her being at wit's end. And and
he's loosely implying that their Christianity and his slight apprehension towards it could create potential problems in their relationship, which very real, very interesting, surprising that Eugene would say that to Wit, and then Wit responds well.
And Wit kind of says is this concern because of our Christianity? And Eugene's he's like, in a word, yes. And Wit's like, is that because you think that she would be averse to it? And he says, I don't know, maybe. And he says, is it because you think she'll be won over by it? And he says, again, I don't know. So one, just getting Eugene to admit that he doesn't know.
Great.
And it just
especially
feels,
when you're talking about somebody else's faith journey.
Right. But it feels so real. He gets to voice these concerns. Wit hears him and acknowledges them as concerns. He doesn't dismiss them.
No.
He's not
even though those concerns kind of challenge his beliefs, he totally could have been, and later Wit might have, come down on Eugene for being well, why would him be a Christian be such a bad thing?
Right, exactly. Why are you saying that we're bad influences on these people?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is my business and I can hire who I want. There's so many opportunities for him not to be gracious here, but it is just a perfect encapsulation of their relationship at this point, and it's really beautiful. Yeah. And I have so much appreciation for it. And and I also get the concern over these worlds colliding.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, the clear boundaries thing makes so much sense.
But even in this, where it's at least for me, and I think this is probably general, but who I am and how I respond to certain things is very dependent on who I am around.
That's fair.
I feel like that's probably pretty
you drive
universal.
different when other people are in the car.
Yeah. And having, so I get that thing of Eugene being Katrina knows what I am like in the college context. She doesn't know what I'm like in the work context.
Yeah.
And that is
basically his family.
Right. And he also has to underscore, there's an undertone of and because of the values that Wit and Connie put forth, Eugene is going to be different around them than he has been around Katrina up to this point.
Yeah.
And now, in addition to how is this going to affect her directly, he has to face, I'm not there are things that I would say to her that I'm not going to say in front of Wit.
Yeah, exactly.
There are ways that I act here that I don't bring into my relationship with Katrina. And it is just like, I love bringing my friends together, but there is sometimes an awkward tension of, oh, I don't make that kind of a joke around that person because I am either because the context I know them in is different, or more often because I'm trying to impress them and seem like a better version of myself around them.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to, talk about XYZ because I'm trying to portray myself as better than that. Yeah. And I'm not. And that sucks for that. Like, I'm not saying this is a good quality, but I can empathize with the, oh man, how is my relationship with Katrina going to change when she sees me in this context?
Yeah. Well, and as we stated, Eugene does not have family. Eugene, like, this is Eugene's family. Yep. This is Eugene's home to a certain extent. Like, that. I mean, it's like you start you're not even dating somebody and you find out they're moving in with you. You're like, but this is going to change things.
Right.
Maybe not all bad. Maybe still salvageable, but it's going to change things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And yeah, so
Connie interrupts,
barges in,
and asks for what is it?
It has a book on like basic Christianity.
Yeah, I think it's just called Basic Christianity, which I wasn't sure if it was a play on Mere Christianity or not.
Oh, that's funny. That he had like worked with Connie, and then when she first became a Christian, and she wants to take it to show to Katrina, and so she leaves, and then Whit and Eugene both go, I guess we should go investigate.
Yeah.
And they venture out. And yeah, we get a scene between both Katrina and Connie. Or no, it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's the four of them, and I guess Lucy's there too. And Katrina just has this line of like, I never considered that the teachings of Christianity might have personal ramifications. Why hasn't this ever come up, Eugene? Like, why isn't this something we've ever talked about? And yeah, he brings up it just never came up when we were at the college. And there's this like kind of like awkward pitter patter back and forth. And then Eugene, excuses himself, and Connie and Katrina head up to Whit's office. And, we just get the
final quote from Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy's like, okay, I think
adult man.
Lucy's like, I've got most of the story together, but I'd like a final word for you. And Whit talks about like how this room never had a purpose. It was just a place for storage, and because of these events, like, it got turned into the Bible room. And like, that's what Whit's End has always been about. Not just redeeming rooms, but redeeming lives.
Yeah.
And that is the final quote for this episode. And that is the final line that Hal Smith recorded before his death. I don't know for sure that that line is... This is the last episode he recorded. And it is that... When I referenced earlier at the beginning that there's like wild coincidence, I cannot believe
6 years after
that this is the last episode that he gets to record, and that was not planned.
Yeah. They
had written scripts for 8 more episodes with Whit in them that they were planning to record the week following his death. Hal Smith passed away at age 77, but peacefully in his home, and we never get we'll be talking a lot in this arc about how they work around that, so we'll get to it as it comes. But I think it is worth underlining that this is his final episode, and the fact that it is such a good Whit episode, that we get we get the origin of Wit's. It's such a good episode.
Yeah.
Full on.
Yeah.
But it's a great Wit episode. His heart-to-heart with Eugene is fantastic. The fact that that's the final scene between Will Ryan and Hal Smith. And then the fact that the episode ends with Lucy literally asking Wit for a final word to tie this all together, and he
nails it.
But he says the thesis of the show.
Yeah.
And then we end. And that's the final note of the episode. And there were this episode came out in April, he passed in January. So there were 3 months between this episode being, or over 3 months between this episode being recorded and its release, and 3 months where they could rework parts of it. And we don't know to what extent it was changed after the fact, what was written on the page versus what came out. But regardless, this was audio they recorded for this episode.
Yeah.
And maybe they were able to edit it in a way to make it even more poignant, or maybe that is truly just what was written. But regardless, it is kind of breathtaking.
No, I think breathtaking is the perfect word for it. It's, I mean, when you said that it happened 6 years after, like, wow, that sounds coincidental. But then when you start looking more into all of the craziness that went into this episode, and
Whit famously doesn't believe in coincidence.
No, certainly not.
He chooses to think things are providential.
Yes. So Hal Smith was providentially murked after a flashback. No.
Brutal.
No. My thing, I would say, that's really impactful is his relationship with Lucy in this episode. And, like, this is Hal Smith's last episode, and you get him with a kid that he has a ton of interaction with, that she has talked to him about writing for the Odyssey Owl. Now she's writing for the Odyssey Times. And she's acting like an adult and introducing herself to Katrina, and, like, whether she's a precocious 6th grader or she's slightly older at this point doesn't really matter. It's just,
I don't think that, here's the thing I'll say.
I don't think they could do a better one if they tried.
If they knew that this was going to be a Hal Smith's final episode, it would have been worse.
Oh, yeah. Infinitely.
Like, and I think they do a great job when they transition Hurlinger out, and that is planned, and, like, I think, like, very well executed. But I don't think that they could have, I don't think Hal Smith's final episode would have been able to pack the punch that this one does if they were writing it with that in mind. And they might have found a way. I mean, Mortal Coil was originally written as, this is how we write Wit off the show. And then they changed the ending because they liked the episode so much.
Yeah.
So it's not that they couldn't have executed it, but it is just, it's breathtaking that this is how he goes out.
Well, and I would say that, that I think is the beauty of it, is because it was so unintentional. And, like, when you think about somebody, you don't, like, if you think about somebody you're mourning, you don't think about, like, their crowning achievement. You think about, like, those little casual moments that you had with them that stuck with you for some reason.
For sure.
And so, like, I wholeheartedly agree with you that there's no way. And Lord, McCusker, and Lawler, if you mess up what you're doing with Will Ryan, I will hunt you down and set your entire state ablaze.
Yeah.
There will be no more Colorado.
But yeah, the fact that this was it doesn't tie a tidy bow on the character of Wit.
No.
But it kind of ties a perfect bow on Hal Smith as Wit.
Yeah.
And
That's a great way to end it.
I know. I think I'm just gonna shoe plugs.
Yeah,
if you're okay with that. And
95% is too low.
95% is pretty amazing. I'll give it to the wiki. But we're gonna be back next week to talk about episode 267. It ended with a handshake. Bye, guys.
Arrivederci.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. It Began with a Rabbit's Foot was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.